All right. Our audience is on KTN News and KTN Home with us. And as we continue those conversations, thank you. All right. Our guest for this hour is seated. The Secretary General of the Jubilee Party, Jeremiah Kioni, is here with us. And we're looking at shifts being made, or what could have been in mind the whole time then coming to the light. I guess he'll tell us that as we get into it. And before we welcome him properly, let's see if you will run, Mheshimiwa. The 29th of October marks the 20th edition of Kenya's largest single-day athletics event by way of the Standard Chartered Nairobi Marathon. It's happening again this year, right? For the 20th time. It's a special one. And folks are saying, okay, so what do we do? Yes, well, you get to www.nairobimarathon.com. Simple. Then you see the different categories that you would want to run in. You look like a 42K man.
Yes.
You know, you can try that. There's a 21K, there's a 10K. There's the virtual run, so you don't have to have this pressure of the world looking at you. You can do it a week before. Really, there are options. 2,000 shillings, register with that. And then you could, if you decide to do the virtual run, you do it a week before, get your numbers on the leaderboard. Or if you decide to do the physical run, taking off on Uhuru Gardens that early Sunday morning, whichever one you try to do or decide to do, it's for a good cause. It's the Future Makers program. And it's making sure that young people, especially girls and people with disability, have the chance to learn, earn, and grow. So it goes towards that. Fantastic stuff. Because we ran. We can do it, I think.
I've tried it twice. It's a good thing to do.
Third time's a charm, they say. Could be this one.
At very, very early times.
Yes.
You were among those pioneers. I think I did. Did I do 21 or 10?
See?
Whichever I did, I ended up almost in hospital, but it was nice.
It was for something good. This is great. Okay. So, as you know, you're not a stranger to this room. Yeah. And CT welcomes us every morning with a proverb. This week, they're from Malawi.
Yes. This is our...
Does he ever have one from Kikuyu?
Yes, when Kenya we have them. And Mheshimiwa, now that you mentioned, let me just say that next week we'll be looking at proverbs from Kenya.
And he will say the ones in Kikuyu. That should be fun.
I will actually look for 2 proverbs from Kikuyu, especially from around the area you come from.
I'll give you 2. I'll give you 4. You 2.
All right, you'll give me 4.
Yeah.
That is most welcome. Thank you. Now, our proverbs for the day. This is our final proverb. An upstart is a sparrow trying to marry a hornbill.
Imagine. As you're imagining, what does that mean to you?
Wow, that is almost blank. Trying to marry?
A sparrow.
A sparrow is the definition of an upstart.
Yes.
Okay, so you say when a sparrow tries to marry a hornbill, you know that's an upstart.
Yes.
Not keeping to his lane.
Yeah. You really are completely off.
Well, yeah, but then since this is a proverb, that's a question.
Yes.
Is it really off?
It might not be, but you never know.
If the hornbill does a thing for him, I mean, surely, can he not look? Can he also not want to marry the hornbill, surely? Just because he's a sparrow. Why limit himself?
You shouldn't. Is that what you say? You shouldn't limit yourself.
You shouldn't limit yourself. I am looking at it from a political point of view. And you should never limit yourself.
An upstart is the Kamwene leadership trying to remain relevant in today's politics. Well, okay.
Yes.
Maybe that would be an opportunity for us to kick off into the conversation. And we did see you this week, a couple of days ago, making an announcement to the nation again about leadership taking on a different outlook. Kamwene leadership is now what we're calling it. What is happening now?
One is that I representing Jubilee, part of Azimio, and we are in Azimio, and Azimio is intact.
Still?
Very intact. And I'm sure it is more intact than many would want to believe or would be happy to hear. But having said that, Kamwene, yes, we talked about Kamwene this week, where I was the host at Jubilee. This time loud, we have had many meetings. Some at NAC Kenya, others will be the PNU, some in hotels and everywhere. And Kamwene is just a grouping of readers from Mount Kenya region who would want to come together and think of issues that touch the mountain, both politically, economically, socially, spiritually, all those issues, including the education life of our people. So we have been meeting and we'll continue meeting. We will have another meeting next week. In the coming couple of months, we will have delegates coming from the counties that we think have people showing interest. So, and just like any other region, it is important that issues of Mount Kenya are also now looked at as from where we sit. We want to look at those issues more critically. I will tell you that even as you were meeting this week, I think later in the afternoon, a report was released, and Mount Kenya counties had the worst revenue collection record. In fact, many of them had a negative revenue collection. In fact, the last on the 47, just a minute, the last of the 47 was Laikipia, followed by Nyeri, and they all queued that way, occupying the first 14 places, but from behind. And those are issues that cannot be allowed to just you can't wish them away. There must be a reason.
I'm puzzled. How do you get a negative collection? I mean, that's why you saw me interrupting you, because you said it and I'm alarmed. I'm saying, how do you achieve this?
It's a negative growth. For example, if a county had collected 200 million shillings last year,
yes,
it ends up collecting like 20 million this year. So something is completely wrong. And what does that mean? It ties with what we had said earlier as Kamwene. The finance bill, among other issues, the finance bill that is still subject of a court process, but which is already being implemented by the government of the day or the regime of the day, impacted negatively on the businesses in that region. It may not be the one showing the reasons because it was just passed for this year, but measures that have been put in place by this KK regime have tended to hit the business community from those regions in a very negative way. If you go to, and if you understand, some of the things I am understanding more now as I continue interacting with people in the business world. I went to this Kirinyaga, Gikomba area.
Yes.
And they have networks that go to Eldoret, they go to Nyeri, they go to Meru, they go to Embu. And all those networks are suffering. Why? Because the taxation measures that have been put in place have hit their sources at Kikomba because of the different ways of now how you import goods into the country, what you must meet, fulfill, conditions, all those things. When you come to issues like agriculture, this is a region that has always been known for perhaps its agricultural productivity. But look at something like coffee. You have seen people uprooting coffee. Last year, 2 years ago, they were doing a kilo at 120 shillings. Today, it's at 20 bob. Macadamia, which was a major industry. In fact, it was like the new liberation in the region. This regime comes into the play, they remove the restriction that was there for those who wanted to import it from Kenya. They allowed them to import without processing in the country, no value addition, and all the factories have now closed. I think the last one, Pius, is selling his 800 acres here in Thika.
Okay.
So the industry has collapsed.
All right.
And these issues are issues that we as leaders of the mountain must give a forum now for us to stop and talk loudly.
Okay.
I know you have a question, but just before, let me just say one final thing.
Okay.
It is there, you reported it. I think I heard it also from this wonderful station. William Ruto and his team, they go to Western Kenya and they are able to waive levies or outstanding payments of about 89 billion shillings for the sugarcane farmers, which is a good thing. We want the farmers of sugar to come back and earn a living. But when they come to Mount Kenya region, what do we see? Nothing. There is coffee corrupting, tea is corrupting. I talked to macadamia, but what do I get? A plate of rice and nyama. You know what I mean? These are things we must start talking about more candidly, without waiting for anybody to help us. And I tell you what I said also is that clearly people have moved from Muda, but they are not coming to Azimio.
Where are they going?
They are there, like the Israelites. And we cannot allow them to wander for 40 years.
Okay.
Quickly, we must give them direction.
Okay,
and
so
Kamwene is just one of the things that you'll be hearing. It is not meant for anybody. It's any person who thinks needs to bring, including businessmen. In our last meeting, we had some businessmen retired who came over and said it's true. We must start talking about our own issues.
So there are a number of things happening here. It's not the first time.
Yes.
It's not the first time that we've seen, I don't want to call it a faction, a number of people who've risen up and talked about the need to have Mount Kenya issues taken care of. Whether we were looking at an election period, whether we were looking at factors or elements being discussed within party, now we are looking and saying, with the current government still, that there are things happening within the mountain region that are not up to scratch, that are not adequate. So what you're saying is that whether you are in government, whether you're out of government, whether you're in whatever political party that you're in, Kamwene, which by the way incidentally means, what does it mean?
It means talking about your own issues.
Okay.
Yes.
All right.
Ni sisi kwanza tuongee yetu
Yes.
kabla ya kupeleka korokoro zetu kwa wengine.
All right. So you have an opportunity to join Kamwene to now come and discuss those issues. Okay. Onto what end? What will you take now, these issues that are being discussed? On what platform or forum will you say now we need to now move forward? Or is it just a space for agitation?
One is that agitation is a very crucial thing in the kind of system we are. And agitation, if you take it to mean advocacy, it is important for you to advocate on behalf of the people who may be looking up upon you. Last night I was given a call by somebody who says, I have never called you, but niruhusu tu nikuambia shida yangu. Na akaendelea. And such a person, I don't know how many people call you also, but it is the government that should be helping those people. It's not me and you. We cannot be able. You can only lie. And you know, when you want to be a populist, you have some money stuck somewhere. So mtu anakuja unapatia tano, huyu unapatia. But that's not the way to do things. Today, as we sit here, how many young people, how many of our children are not in school because of the new education system? Charging fees, things that we don't understand. We were analyzing as Kamwene and we actually got figures using watu wamesoma mambo ya hesabu kuongeza na kutoa. The education cost has gone up by 225%.
Since when? Between when and when?
Since last year and now. 225%. People are being told, report to the university. You report. Yeah, there was some classifications. You vulnerable, needy, very needy, not needy. I don't know what all those things. And I don't know whether it's needed because you have not eaten enough. Whatever, you cannot quite tell the criteria that is being used. But you need to report so that you are then told what classification or what category you fall in.
Yes. And how much you will be helped.
And how much you'll be helped.
Yeah.
That kind of uncertainty. How many parents want to send their kids off to school or places and they have no certainty? They are not certain whether it's something they're going to afford. I mean, there are things that are happening in this country. And I was telling my colleagues in Azimio that if we are not careful, even Kenyans themselves will go ahead of us. People are suffering and people are confused. So the same children, now there is a big campaign in Mount Kenya region. Funga ba, funga ba, funga ba. Na zimefungwa, lakini hakuna mtu ambaye anazifuga na barua. The person who is being told to close the bar has paid a license to the county government, all the statutory things, lakini asubuhi wamekutwa na mtu na mwanasiasa an MCA or a member of parliament in the presence of the other, fugeni. Sawa, mwefunga. That person, what are you doing to that person? Yes, we don't want people drinking beer. But the way to stop drinking beer, it is not by crossing bars. It is by giving people what is due to them. And that is why we are also saying at Kamwene, 1 shilling. We are saying 1 man, 1 vote, 1 shilling. And 1 man, 1 vote, 1 shilling does not mean that we are taking money from any other community. No. Give us money equal to the number of people in those regions, or something equivalent to the population. Then you will not see these young people drinking everywhere. We had kazi mitaani, kazi kwa vijana. Look at the embarrassment that we had as a country the other day here. Some 350 slots for NYS.
For a KDF.
Here at Ebakazi. And thousands and thousands of our young people turned up. That was a very embarrassing thing. And you and I know, maybe you may not want to read it as a proverb, but you and I know we can actually make one now for you to read next year. That by the time you are going for those slots, wenyewe wanajulikana, you are only going to help those who have already been allocated to continue taking them.
You're validating the process.
Yes, you are just validating what people have done. And I can tell you now, the TSC forms, something that was worked on very hard by Kibaki and Uhuru's regime. Let the recruitment of teachers be on merit. Let it not be because of who you know. A young lady who leaves college the other day comes and finds an old person who left college 2014. She is employed. The 214 person is waiting. That's what is happening. The forms are now available. Members of parliament are working with them to ditch them out to their villages. Honestly, that is what is happening. And if we do not talk about these things, this country, I am not sure you can see 4 years holding together.
So then again, the question is, Kamwene leadership, is this a position whereby folks can agitate? Or is there something that we are saying as a result will then be done for these issues that you're talking about? And how can folks be guaranteed that it is essentially not a grouping of individuals, politicians, who previously were in some limelight and are still looking for expediency today? How can we be sure?
There is no crime with the politicians who are in the limelight looking for an opportunity to be in the limelight. And one of the ways of being in the limelight is actually turning up to an invitation to Spice FM this morning. There is no crime in that. There is no crime of creating a platform where younger leaders in the region can be given a better platform where they can be better leaders. Leaders who take on platforms and don't insult others. Leaders who take on platform and don't tell you when you are really suffering because of the high cost of fuel. The leader who will not tell you, go and dig your own well in your own compound. That's not the leadership we are looking for. So Kamwene would also be a forum to nurture new leaders in Mount Kenya who can be able to articulate issues of the region without insulting other people from other communities. So it is a platform, yes, we will articulate all these issues, and I'm not saying that we will also be pushing for political leadership. Whether within Kamwene or from whichever other formations that are there, we will be pushing for political leadership. 2022, it was a time when maybe we did not have a political leader in the form of a presidential candidate from that mountain region. It doesn't mean that we are not going to have those opportunities coming through. If it comes through Kamwene, so be it. And this is nothing wrong in nurturing that kind of ambition or nurturing leadership of that nature. In any case, if today I was to ask you here and don't answer me.
Okay.
If you are looking...
But you're going to ask nonetheless.
Yes,
but
just
we should
like
not
a
answer.
very difficult proverb that you have given us this morning. I mean, we have leaders. Look at our leaders who have today. And the leaders who are there, let me give you a person I respect called Kemunya. I mean, if you are to bring Kemunya to the leadership, he is a cut above all the people who are there. You have Peter Munya, you have Dirito Mreidi, you have Jeremiah Kioni, you have Mother Karua. All these are people who are capable of even leading this country without blinking.
Okay.
Yeah, so I mean, it is not we are not limiting ourselves to just saying that, and we are not even hiding to say that we are just advocating for people's rights to be respected. You are, in any case, for you to be able to push an idea that you have in a better way, you need that platform.
Okay.
Yeah, so I want to confirm that we are not limiting ourselves to just issues that are affecting people, but we would want to advocate for them now and tomorrow, even when you are in the offices that others are occupying, for one reason or another. And I know there are many people who are saying many things, but I want to repeat now again, and it is clear. We moved into KK camp and we moved into Azimio camp. We are still saying open the servers, because there are those people who think that like yesterday I had a guy called Hassan Omar saying, how many votes did you bring to Azimio? And I'm telling you, open the server.
And you can see.
Open the server. We took 1.6 million votes there. Zile waliiba. Open the server. So don't ask the question kama wewe mwenyewe umekataa kuleta ukweli wa mambo hili. And these are things we will never stop
So
saying.
is that where the friction came from yesterday? Is that what we're saying? Essentially,
Well,
what happened
there
yesterday?
were many reasons as to why frictions will come. But that is also a good area for friction.
And so it still continues to be a pain point here that you're saying if you want to find out what really happened, then open up the server and then you'll get some answers. It seems like we're going to keep riding on that particular element for a while until it's done.
And you know, it is very unfortunate because even before you are told to open the server, the law requires IEBC to do so. But they don't want to do it for the reasons that they may have been trying to manipulate on to tank and tamper with it. And I'm sure those are issues that are going to come out in the coming days. But if you don't want me to say many things, or if you don't want to, just do the obvious. The server is not a secret thing. It is a thing that should be, as you bring the results on the screen in Bombers, come and see the server, where they're coming from. But that thing, they have refused completely. Why would you want to refuse with it?
Right. So the bipartisan talks became a shouting match yesterday. Essentially, that's what happened. And here we are still looking at fundamental issues that one would have thought would have been overcome now. One side from the bipartisan talks, now we see that within that side, Kamwene leadership is coming out of that. The other side, we're throwing things at each other. And the question is, how then will any solution come out of this if there seems to be so many pots boiling? You want to think about that as we go to a break?
Well, I have the answer. Not too much of thinking, but we can go for a break.
Okay, let's take a break and come back and we'll hear that the answer to that question. The Secretary General of the Jubilee Party, Jeremiah Kioni, is our guest this hour. And we're looking at many things, the bipartisan talks. What's going to come out of them? Was there something intended from the beginning? Kamwene leadership also says they have some, room for agitation and it should be looked at. We'll take a break. We'll be back after this.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
Off your best skin with Nivea Nourishing Cocoa Body Lotion with 5-in-1 Complete Care. The deeply nourishing formula prevents your skin from drying with precious cocoa butter and deep moisture for smooth and healthy looking skin.
Angusha Kotroli kila wiki na Carrefour. Shika Economy White Sugar at only $3.65, Daima UHT Milk at $39, Fresh Beef Cubes at $3.79, na Tomato Loose at only 49 shillings. Angusha Kotroli na Carrefour.
Ethan! Mommy! Mommy! Ethan! From the depths of heartache to the heights of happiness, lives intertwine in ways you never imagined.
That's how I look at it, being the mother of high-miss children.
Secrets are revealed, alliances are tested.
It was your husband who killed my daughter!
Mommy! Mommy!
And true love faces its biggest challenges.
You know what? This is your fault. I warned you.
Love, betrayal, and endless suspense thrive in the world of soap operas at KTN Home. Tune in.
I saw the killer bride.
You mean the ghost?
With Glovo, you've got the city at your fingertips. Unajisikia kukula kitu different? Order a Glovo. Soap imeisha? Order a Glovo and get it right away. Download Glovo and get anything you want in minutes.
Would you like to learn from the great minds in the world of business?
Do you want to create a profitable personal brand and a vision board that works?
Would you like to know how to run a family business?
The Late Night Business gives you access to great minds and stories to enable you start, grow, or take your business to the next level.
We believe from very early on, if you get one customer, serve them very well. Positivity, have a vision, so look forward, humility.
Join me, Ian Dennis, each and every Tuesday at 10 p.m. for the Late Night Business.
If a plant was my best friend, I could give it a mirror so it can see how beautiful it is.
I would like to be a farmer because I will increase the quantity of food production in Kenya.
My name is Angel, and if I could grow a magical plant, I could grow a plant that could give me ice cream. I love eating ice cream. I love agriculture, and when I see the plants grow, it makes my heart skip a beat. My favorite food is rice and beans because the beans remind me of home and the rice, it's just rice. My name is Ethan, and if I could grow a magical plant, I want a plant that grows money.
Even when sometimes we walk on a little doubt, because of his love, he still will perform that miracle.
We'll be having Amos Mugambi joining us on the summit segment.
Tazamo wa muziki Kenya, tunahitaji kwenda live.
Today we have a special for you.
Religion is man's vain attempt to reach God, but Christianity is God reaching man through Jesus Christ.
How is it that we are talking of borrowing of 890 billion shillings between April and June, and the high levels of taxation? We have not resolved the issue of the finance bill. And so when I said that out there, and I said I wouldn't want to sit in a situation, or I wouldn't want to feel like we are conning Kenyans. Yes, there are those who thought that that should not have been said. But I'm still saying it now, that what took us to bombers, why people were killed, was the cost of living.
Mm-hmm.
That's why we had people doing maandamano. And I can tell you, if it was not for the pain of seeing dead bodies allowed, it was not, you are not going to talk right more out of this quickly. But the pain of seeing dead bodies, the pain of seeing the profiling of rules in that process, people being killed in Kisumu for purposes of killing the maandamano. That is why we said, for the sake of life, can we just sit and see whether we can make sense out of this? Because you don't want to come from maandamano and people are killed senselessly. So even when you are seated there and we are not talking about the brutality of the police force, the medical bills of the people who are injured, compensation to those whose children were killed. Those are issues that should worry any one of us. So instead of that, going on, somebody says, how much kura did we bring? Open the server.
Then you can get your answer.
Open the server, and you get all these answers. So I think I want to respect and say that good effort. I cannot say that there is anything we have to report for up to today, because I think we've been doing a lot of housekeeping and organizing everything. And today we are now having the stakeholders memorandums are going to be given. We have one that we have sent as Jubilee, and even some people there think that we should not present as Jubilee because we have a court case. I mean, we will sort out those issues, but it is important that we also put on the spot by the media. The media will need to put us on the spot. They have done it, and there are those who have the mandate to speak on behalf of the talks. I don't have the mandate. I am just a person sitting in the technical team. But after the technical team, you are a Kenyan, a leader, and people will be expecting to see something coming out of where you sit. So more question you can ask those who have the mandate to talk on behalf of us. I say as a Kenyan is that we have a huge responsibility to deal with the cost of living. Whatever else we deliver, it will not make sense to a person who is hungry. And two, and allow me humbly, if we want to deal with issues that are dealing with the Constitution, there are already things we cannot, that are beyond any of us. For example, if you want to amend the Constitution, how to amend the Constitution is provided for in the Constitution. You cannot come up with another Kichijio way. No, and we will be there to say there is a constitutional way of amending our Constitution, and there are issues you cannot touch unless you've gone to Kenyans through a referendum. So then we will be able to have been faithful as the reasons why we will have picked to go and sit there. And I apologize.
No, you don't have to apologize. You know, when you started talking, you said that a lot of people have left UDA, but they're not joining Azimio. And I just picked on that because a lot of Kenyans are disillusioned, absolutely disappointed.
Including me.
So I'm referring to, I'm going to make reference to the leadership, which is you. So let me finish. So, you know, there was the election loss for those who voted on the Azimio side. And there's the disappointment in the handling that was done. And therefore killing the dreams and aspirations of those who had supported Azimio. Then there were the supporters of UDA with all the promises that had been given. And a year down the line, we have another very disillusioned people who are feeling absolutely let down. So there we have a bunch of Kenyans, rightfully as you said, and they're sitting there. And I can tell you today, if you speak to some of them, they will not be asking you about the server. They will not be asking you about Kamwende, is it Kamwende? Or whichever other political outfit there is. Because there's a general feeling that our politicians have generally let us down. And actually looking towards what is going to be next. Who is going to come and save us? Because clearly, the ones who are present right now are not hearing us. There's a total disconnect with our political leadership and the people. Totally. Yeah. And this, I'm telling you, I've now been interacting with a lot of young people. And the young people are the ones who make this country. There's a complete, total disconnect. So even when you speak of forming new formations, what is that? Where is that angle for the young people? Right now, whose concern is, I have no food.
Employment.
I have nothing to eat.
Yeah.
My dreams and aspirations have been crushed. My leaders don't love me. All of them. I don't feel loved. I'm in a country where I feel unappreciated. So even as the political leaders are looking for relevance, I just want to tell you, already you're doing poorly, as it is. And this is both those in government and those in opposition. Yeah. We have a formidable opposition in our parliament. Where are the shadow cabinets? Where are the solutions? Even if we're saying government, reduce the cost of fuel. Where are the solutions? Because there are people with brains everywhere. Yeah. Why don't we have an economic think tank that is, funded, say, by Azimio side, so that we can see real solutions, so that people can begin to feel that even in as much as we are calling out the government for not doing, that there are possible solutions somewhere. Where are those possible solutions? Or are we just trying to remain relevant by just making noise and calling out and calling out? So there's a lot of young people out there completely disillusioned. And they don't see leadership anywhere.
I want to agree with you in everything that you have said, because I belong to the class of people who are also very unhappy. I am not young, but I'm old, but also very unhappy. So the unhappiness is not just among the young people, it is also among even the aged, those who are much older than us. And I will tell you, unlike ever before, it is now very difficult for us to say that we are looking for young leaders to come and be in parliament. The parliament that we have is made up of the youth. It is the youth who are in parliament, and they have been really a disappointment. So in many ways, including the kind of bills that you see them tabling, some of the very youthful senators are the ones who had gone with the bills in parliament to ask for a holiday. When if what did they say? That if we have a holiday on a Thursday and a bill,
yes,
then Friday should become a holiday. That is how they are helping the youth. Some very myopic things are coming from those leaders who are youthful. So I'm saying this to try and ask of you to think of our problems as a Kenyan problem. It is not a problem that is going to be solved by the youth or the young. It is a problem that we have to solve, all of us. And it will not be solved by shifting blame anymore from this age group to the other, because that we have seen, and it's been very, very disappointing. When you talk about many of the things you talk, including why is there no opposition? There is opposition in Bunge. But the first thing that was done by UDA was to buy our young, youthful leaders from our parties so that they can join the wheelbarrow wagon. And that is why it is an issue that we would want to discuss at Bomas. But there is huge resistance from the young people, again, from the youth in UDA. They don't want us to talk about the multi-party, fidelity to multi-party. If the multi-party democracy is not functioning, expect the government to land shot on you. They would do anything and everything on earth. They need to be told, stop. The only reason the government was not able to push us to the levels they have pushed us now, last year, is because of the demonstrations. Now they know with the killings that they did, every one of us is hesitant to call people out for demonstration. Wait and see the havoc they are going to learn on this. They held us at Bomas, and we were having Bomas, and I told this to our leaders. These people are only being nice. That was last month. They are only being nice for the reason that they have heads of states
for this climate
coming for the climate summit. Immediately they are gone. Wait and see. The day the last one left the country, fuel hike hit the ceiling. So this, without opposition, the government will do anything and everything they think they should do on Kenyans. Unfortunately, it is parliament where you are talking of opposition. It is actually parliament that is the most unreliable institution that you can deal with. And when it has been captured, you can only now look for help from outside. If we had strength in parliament, we will not be forming Kamwene outside. We will be calling on the leaders within parliament and telling them what they need to push. But when they were called to Sagana from Mount Kenya region, when they were having the Muchere and Nyama story, there was the issue. We had told them to go and push for 1 man, 1 vote, 1 shilling. And they were told, dare you, if we ever hear any one of you utter those words again, you will not be anything anymore. They all went mum. And then there were some experts, and I say experts in that manner, were made to present papers to them, to tell them, this is something that cannot work. The 1 man, 1 vote, 1 shilling. It's not a Mount Kenya thing. It is a country. We want it as a principle for everybody in this country. Get your shilling for you as a voter.
Mweshima, why is this always an issue? this thing that we're talking about, the capture of parliament, did not start with this administration. We saw that there were words on the same in the previous administration, and it's always that parliament is beholden to the executive. It is always that members of parliament, who, by the way, went to the people in constituencies and said, vote for me as an individual. I will be able to carry your issues to the floor of the House, and I will agitate, and I will make sure that the issues are addressed, and I will make sure that development is secured. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Then we get into an administration, and very conveniently we are told, well, actually, that thing that I said I was going to do for you, whether I'm in government or opposition, I actually can't do because we have been captured. It seems to me too often to be an excuse that's used.
Yes, and I think it is the clarity of laws that needs to be understood. See, cleverly, in a very shrewd manner, the executive will always want. Our history is that before we got our 2010 constitution, development was going to areas that were were represented in the executive. You are a member of we are a member of government if you belong to the party that is in power.
Or you're friendly to them.
Or you are friendly. And friendliness was not quite working before, because during Kanu's days, you are our friend, yes, but you cannot be our friend unless you cross over. But during Kanu's day, and you know Kanu, how untidy Kanu was, at least they were decent. They would cause a by-election in your area. Go, run again, come at a Kanu. And people will say, sasa, wacha tupatie mtu ya Kanu, hata ndio yako ataenda kwa serikali. That now the people have given you a mandate.
You are talented development.
You are talented development.
Yes.
Now today, there was nothing. They are just the most dishonest political, in fact, it's political prostitution. You have lied to people out there that I am going to remain within the party of Jubilee or within ODM. But when you go to the floor, you abandon what you told the people and you go and align yourself to a party. This is how we have killed opposition. We started parliament with 172 members of parliament.
You had the majority.
We had the majority as Azimio. But before we could even sit, 11 had been stolen. They had been bought. Cash.
But
without any regard of any existing law. And this is why one of the key things that we would want to get out of this bipartisan thing at Bomas, highly doubt, is the issue of multi-party, fidelity to multi-party democracy. If the executive cannot respect the multi-party doctrine, then you expect the suffering that we have.
Or at the very least, the independence of the
Not a single member of parliament has talked of the embarrassment that is there. I mean, it's so horrifying.
What this government does and what they're doing is clear. The rules that we speak of, they have demonstrated with clarity that they have no regards for them. Okay? Just like the previous government, Uhuru clearly demonstrated he had no regards for court rulings. Okay? So it looks like we are building on that particular platform. But why don't we consider the conversation that you're making with this perspective? These younger politicians of ours whom we say were bought, it appears they were willingly bought, or were some of them forced to be bought. You see, if somebody makes an offer and somebody accepts, there are those who argue some have been arm-twisted. I am told there's some individuals who do a lot of business with the government, and unless you are friendly and you are coerced, then whatever is owed to you by the government will not be paid, but not all of them. Some of them are hoping that they will do business, whatever the reasons. But I am simply saying that many of these people who appear to cross over while they were elected on this particular party ticket, on the other, seem to willingly go in that direction. Now, is there really a way of guaranteeing that when you develop new leaders, they will not go the same way?
That I'll answer it by what we have put and what we'll be presenting at Bomas.
Yes.
It was a very simple procedure before our 2010 constitution. You move from your party into Kanu, a by-election. And even Moi was prepared for by-election. He actually was announcing the date along the roads. Siku ya uchaguzi. He never took you over in your previous colors. That is the minimum that we can expect from this parliament. If we're able to achieve that, you'll also be able to nurture leaders because you've given them some protection. And you also have, there is a cost to you if you do X, Y, Z. So one would also be able to persevere if it's persevering if it's a business you want to lose. It will be lost, but you have been faithful to the people who elected you. So as we are looking at the bipartisan talks, and we'll be hoping that many people will come with those kind of proposals in their memorandums, is what aspects of the law do we need to amend or to deal with to ensure that if you propagate the ideals of another party, you go for by-election. If you think that the party that you were elected on is not serving the people, your people, you to go back and tell them, I think this is the wrong party. I have come back with this party. Do you want to give me votes? That kind of fidelity, that kind of honesty, we hope to get out of it. It is, of course, possible even with the current laws that we have, but they are being abused by mainly the political parties tribunal. That is where the worst things are happening now. Because every time you like now what ODM has done, what we had done in Jubilee, you discipline a member, he is expected, of course, you have the due process,
yes,
fair hearing, fair administration of justice. So they have to go to the tribunal, file an appeal, they go back and forth, and that whole process is where 5 years is wasted. Kwa sababu wanasema enda hiyo mambo, I'll finish 5 years in these corridors, I'll still be in parliament,
right.
I'll still be achieving. So even now becomes more notorious because you have already expelled him, but you are not able to get him out of parliament. So he even spites you more and becomes of...
Are we saying then that the judiciary is also compromised?
Yes.
Okay.
I can tell you that, and we'll try and see how we can deal with this.
You're looking at all of these talks. But the judiciary is
compromised, not in terms of, perhaps, let me say, not in terms of because the judges themselves are not doing what needs to be done, but because for a case to be heard at the High Court, at the Court of Appeal, at the Supreme Court, what kind of time do we take?
So
can we then be able to limit the time within which that case must be dealt with?
Okay.
Those kind of things.
The talks in
that
general,
kind of compromise I'm talking about.
So it seems,
but the tribunal is different.
It seems as though the talks in general, there is dissatisfaction across board. So why are we wasting time? In your opinion, should these talks continue? Or are there a platform for which Azimio can prepare for 2027?
Well, talks must continue because it's good to continue talking. And
even if it is not going to yield,
whenever an opportunity has been given for people to talk, you keep talking. But it's also good to be honest to people who are expecting you or who sent you there.
So,
and
so what are those expectations? Are you essentially saying that nothing is going to come out of them, even if it's
I haven't seen nothing will come out, but so far I haven't seen us deal with the cost of living. I haven't seen us deal with the issues of electoral justice in the manner that are we preserving. Even if I totally agree with you, it is not that we want the server to be open so that we can feed on whatever is there. It is because we want the server to be opened so that, one, it will help us make amendments to our laws to ensure that what happened 2022, 2017, 2013, 2007, it does not happen 2027. If we do not start by seeing what happened, where is it that we've been going wrong for the last 20 years, there is no point of saying that we are coming up with a new electoral body.
Does it still present itself as a bedrock for preparation for succession for 2027?
I don't get exactly what you want me to say, but I will say what I think you have triggered in my mind.
Okay.
Whether we like it or not, we must prepare for 2027. There are those who are preparing for 2032. You have heard them speak out there. So there will always be people preparing for the next general elections. What is important is to ensure that that process is fair. It gives you the honest outcome that was intended by the people. Where we are now, what we have learned is that we are not going to be able to, recommend changes either to the law, to the policy, to the process without starting from the server and coming backwards. Otherwise, we are going to have the same prescriptions, because every 5 years we've had this kind of a game. Where is it that this system is not working? Open the